Welcome everyone to my channel. My name is Katie and I am so happy that you're here with me. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so below so that you are notified anytime that we upload a brand new video. So let's go ahead and get started. Today I am so excited to be talking to you about this concept called rumination. Some of you may be like, what did she say? Others of you are like, I know exactly what you're talking about. So, if you're like me, a few months ago, I did not know anything about this. But I find it so fascinating because our brains, they could be either our best friends or our worst enemy. So, let's go ahead and get started. What is rumination? Think about this like a broken record that is stuck on repeat in your mind, playing the same negative thoughts and feelings over and over again. And it could be a mental loop of memory that just keeps dwelling on past mistakes or worrying about the future or even overthinking social interactions. You see, it's not just thinking about something and moving on. No, this is where you get stuck in a cycle of negativity that just feels impossible to escape. You just continue to think about the same scenario over and over again with no actual solution. So, we are going to talk about how rumination shows up in our lives by providing you with specific examples, as well as how actually this impacts minorities a little bit more than other groups, as well as how to break free from rumination. So let's go ahead and get started. From my personal experience, I can tell you I am a recovering overthinker. Anyone else with me? So, what do I mean by this? I used to overthink everything from conversations that I had years ago. What should I have said differently? What should I have done differently? What did the other person think about me? Like if I knew what they thought. So, the other thing that happened to me more recently is learning social media. I wanted to grow my business and provide more exposure to it. So I decided that social media was actually a tool that I needed to use, even though I wanted to avoid it because I used to be the one that was just like everything, right? But never post. And if I did, it was a picture that had nothing to do with my business. It was just like a personal thing. But then I decided that yes, to grow my business and to gain exposure, social media was the best tool. So I started on LinkedIn. And I would type up a post, I would read it, delete it, and rewrite it. Read it, delete it, and rewrite it. And that continued. Sometimes up to 2 hours or more. I try it. I said recovering overthinker. And other times, to the point where I would get so frustrated that I'd be like, never mind, I'm not even going to post today. So, this is how rumination was showing up in my life. When that was happening, it was because I also have the tendency to be a people pleaser. And this was in full display at that point. I wanted to write the perfect post to avoid any negative feedback. I had anxiety over what people's judgments of me were going to be and their perceptions of me. I also had the fear of criticism and even worse, their disapproval. That I wasn't going to provide the right type of value to people. All of this was causing anxiety and wasting time because you know how productive I could have been in other areas? But no, as a result, rumination just consumed all that time and it increased my stress and anxiety levels, because I was constantly worrying and overthinking, or even creating stories that hadn't even happened in my mind. And then it also reduced my self confidence. You see, I have experience in leadership, I have experience in coaching, emotional intelligence, but in those moments, my confidence was lower because I couldn't get the perfect post. And so it also decreased my ability to grow my business because even though I was spending all this time, people still didn't know I existed. Once I recognized the negative impact of that it was having on my business, I decided no, I needed a solution. So what I did was I created an Excel sheet and I challenged myself to create 10 posts a day. At first, it was just create 10 posts, please create 10 posts. Then it became create 10 posts in 2 hours. Then it became 10 posts in 1 hour, bringing it down to 30 minutes. I know for some of you, you're like 30 minutes for 10 posts, that's too much time. But considering where I started, I can say that's pretty darn good. Plus, it became a mental um, exercise, and my competitive spirit kicked in. So it was a challenge for me that I really enjoyed. So I stopped overthinking my posts, and I would take them from the Excel to actually posting them. And I gained more followers as well as engagement. And I'm so glad I did because I hear the positive comments and I'm like, why was I stressing so much? But So, as you can see, this seemingly simple task had a variety of impact in different areas of my life. It was causing me stress, so physically it was impacting me. It was causing me not to gain clients, and I was wasting my time. All of that was impacting me. So, by learning how rumination works and understanding it, I have learned to identify these patterns, which have helped me create strategies on how to manage it effectively. This has reduced the negative impact on my life and my well being. So, for you, here are some key characteristics of rumination. It is a cycle, it becomes repetitive. Those thoughts, they keep coming back, even if you try to push them away. It has you thinking about the situation, it brings up negative thoughts and emotions, which can cause stress and anxiety. It's also a cycle that just continues to repeat itself. It is only focused on the negative experience, negative emotions, and your perceived flaws. It's also very passive because it's not actually working towards a problem solving it's not actually trying to solve the situation or find a solution for it. It's just dwelling on the issue. And as you could tell from my experience, it's very unproductive because it's going to lead to negative outcome or no outcome at all. You're just going to be stuck. So experiencing this over a period of time, can you imagine? It's actually going to cause a downward spiral that can lead to some serious issues like anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. Just like for me, it was chipping away. I know I have value, and I know that I want to share the value of my experiences with others. But in that time, I was questioning, what am I going to talk about? Are these people are CEOs? These people have this title and that title. What do I know? Well, I know plenty. And so once I stopped overthinking it, I was able to see what I actually bring to the table. Now, another piece where rumination makes a big impact is actually in the minority communities. This may be an increased social factor because of microaggressions and exposure to discrimination that we may experience. You see, when I was working in corporate, I had a white male colleague, and he would call me an overachiever. This would cause anxiety whenever I had to present and he was part of the audience. He was like, don't be an overachiever, just be an achiever. I don't know what that means or what the difference is, right? But it was like, just don't do too much. And then when I was recognized for my well done work, I felt like I didn't deserve it. I would actually get anxiety over it. And I would hope that he didn't hear, because there again, I was the overachiever. But in my head, overachiever translated to teacher's pet from my childhood. And it would trigger those same negative feelings that I felt back then. We may also experience rumination due to stereotypes, such as the exotic Latina. And you see, I never associated myself with that because I never thought I was pretty enough. I never thought my body was ideal. So I would get anxious because I'm not the perfect Latina. But you know what? I have a lot to thank my body for. It allows mobility. It allows me to freely express myself and to just live life. And what a privilege that is. Another piece that plays into rumination in minority communities is the cultural expectations. I am a first generation oldest daughter / child from an immigrant family. And because of that, to some degree, I became the third parent, helping babysit the kids, regardless, even as early as 10 years old, because my parents had to go work. Not because they were neglectful, but because they needed to work for us. Which added unnecessary responsibilities. But because we're part of this unit, the family, we're part of the community, and everyone pitches in. Everyone. So even as I grew older, my family just expected me to drop everything so I can go and help them. And because I had a lack of boundaries, I would, regardless if that put me behind in my own personal life. So recognizing how rumination shows up in minority communities is crucial. But I also want you to recognize that there's so much diversity, such that play into our gender, our race, our ethnicity, our socioeconomic backgrounds. That all plays into the individual's experiences. Sometimes it increases the vulnerability to rumination. However, it's essential to avoid generalizing because we all experience it differently. And not everyone in the community will experience rumination in the same way. And so we need to be able to acknowledge different people's experience with that. Now that we've explored how social factors can influence rumination, let's actually talk about the different ways rumination can show up in our lives. So one way is called brooding. This is where you get stuck focusing on the causes and consequences of negative emotions. It's like constantly replaying a frustrating situation in your mind and then analyzing what went wrong, why you feel so sad, and then what the implications might be. And then repeating it all over again. You're just brooding in it. The other is reflection. Now, don't get me wrong, healthy reflection is actually a valuable tool for your personal growth. When it becomes dangerous and when it becomes rumination is when you're starting to analyze past events. This is good in an objective and neutral way. The problem is when reflection doesn't necessarily get you to a solution, and now you're stuck with the self-criticism. And while the negative emotions may not be as intense as the brooding, you're still chipping away at your self-esteem. You're still bringing up negative things to yourself. So healthy reflection is more around trying to understand what happened in the situation and learning from it rather than just thinking about it. And then girls, ladies, mams, and everybody else, co-rumination. This is the one that I associated with the most, especially when I was working in corporate. Because misery loves company, right? Well, co-rumination is just like that. It's when we excessively discuss problems and negative feelings with others. While it's just natural to seek the support from friends and families, co-rumination takes it to an unhealthy level when we're constantly talking about the same negative experience together, which reinforces those feelings instead of actually finding a solution. And these are just some examples of what rumination looks like, and some may actually overlap. The key takeaway here is to find yourself, when you find yourself caught in this cycle of repetitive negative thinking, it's important to recognize it and then explore ways to break free from it, which we're going to talk about. But first, let's give you some more examples so that we're clear on what brooding, reflection, and co-rumination look like. So here's the scenario for brooding. A person receives a less than stellar performance review. And let's take it even further. Let's say this person, everything was positive except for this one little thing. So when I used to do employee reviews, I was taught early in my leadership career, you always want to leave the person feeling amazing. Even if they didn't do so well, you always write it from a positive angle. But there's always a section that asks about areas of opportunities. And areas of opportunities aren't necessarily bad. It just means there's room for growth, which we all have, right? But in this scenario, let's talk about that. So everything positive, but the area of opportunity. And now this person is just thinking about that over and over again for the rest of the day. That's all they can think about is this area of opportunity. Then they start to question, am I going to lose my job? Does my boss actually like me? Am I actually doing a good job? So then you start to think about your competence level. Do I know how to do my job? I mean, I haven't gotten any coaching, but this says this. And all the negative thoughts, right? So these thoughts can actually fuel anxiety and fear, and then just leaving you feeling overwhelmed and discouraged, which can actually make it difficult to concentrate on work for the rest of the day, rest of the week, and who knows for how long. That is brooding. It's like you're stewing in it. The next one is reflection. So someone who reflects on a past relationship that just ended badly. Now she thinks about the patterns in the relationship, the communication breakdowns, and even their own role in the dynamic of the relationship. Yeah, you acknowledge that you're hurt, and you also recognize the lessons that you're learning from this relationship, and then you actually take a step to set boundaries and communicate your needs the next time around. That is healthy reflection. However, when it turns unhealthy is when all you're doing is dwelling on the negativity of that past relationship, blaming yourself, and then not even using that experience of the lessons learned for the next relationship. Then you're just thinking about it and not actually solving it. And then my favorite, the co-rumination. Because what did we say? Misery loves company, and it's a party up in here. So imagine yourself with a friend, and the conversation actually just starts as a venting session. Complaining, let's say you're at work, about how you feel overworked, overlooked, undervalued. And then your friend's like, you know what? You're right. You're so right. Because when I had this experience, they also didn't pay attention to me. They undervalued me. They undermined me. They don't even give me a raise. And now you're both going back and forth, back and forth. So now you're just spending time talking about the unfairness of how you're being treated, but there's no work towards a solution. You're all starting to get, both are starting to get anxious and even angry. Negative feelings are starting to come on, and you're actually just reinforcing it instead of finding a way to cope or create a change. This type of negative reinforcement can actually increase feelings of helplessness and prevent you from taking positive action to address the situation itself. So now let's talk about the impact of rumination on our self-esteem. As you can see from the examples, rumination can have a significant negative impact on our mental and emotional well-being. It can actually lead to other problems like increased anxiety and depression, which we talked about earlier, because imagine that constant negativity. It's just fueling feelings of worry, sadness, and hopelessness, which will cause low self esteem because harsh self criticism and just dwelling on your perceived flaws can actually diminish your sense of self worth, creating limiting beliefs. It leaves you feeling inadequate to show up because you feel like now you have imposter syndrome, because who are you to be there and what can you contribute? Similar to how I was feeling when I didn't want to post on LinkedIn. It can also create difficulties in relationships because now you're overthinking interactions. Here's another example. So I had just started working in a team, and two of my coworkers one day were like whispering, and it was like right next to my desk, and they were giggling and they kind of like glanced my way. And then I remember, I don't even know what took over me. This isn't how I am regularly, but I was like, if you have something to say it to my face. I don't know if they were talking about me. They were kind of like, what? Oh, sorry, we weren't talking about you. And then they continued their conversation, but I was overthinking somebody else's interaction and having perceived things going on in my head because I was assuming the worst. You know, rumination will also leave you feeling like you're not enough. And again, that strained our relationship for that moment. It also stops us from going after our goals and our dreams because, again, we feel inadequate to do it. We're not good enough to achieve that. Why would you want to do that? You're not going to accomplish that. That's what it tells us. So you stopped yourself. Another thing for me is I'm not pretty enough, so why should I be on camera? How silly. It's not like I'm trying to be a model, right? I'm just trying to educate people. I'm trying to share what has helped me in my life with others. I want to provide value and to show people what value I can provide based off of my experiences because I'm not perfect. I still struggle through some of these things. Can you imagine if I continue to say, well, I'm not pretty enough to be on camera? The people that have come up to me to tell me how my words have impacted them, that's what keeps me going. Not how I look on camera. Before I used to dwell on that. Now it's about that. If I don't share my experience with others, I'm taking away value from other people's lives. And how dare I do that? Right? So I had to get past that. Because I'm starting to see the positive in what I am doing. And then rumination is also going to impact your physical health. When you have so much stress, it leads to headaches, digestive issues, and just other physical ailments. It's going to give you difficulty in concentrating because it's that mental chatter. Who do you think you are? What are you doing? Why would you do that? Why did you say that? It doesn't let you focus. It doesn't allow you to be present in the moment. And then sleep problems because all those thoughts, they don't stop at night. Your brain doesn't have a time clock that it says, okay, no more negative talk after this time. No. It's all those racing thoughts. In fact, when we're trying to sleep, it's when it turns on even more because it's free to think anything it wants. And that can keep you awake at night. So now that we have defined it, now that we have talked about how it shows up, the different types of rumination, and how it can impact you, let's now start to focus on how do we overcome it? How do we break free from it? First is self-awareness and being mindful. Mindfulness is about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. And it's noticing your thoughts and feelings as they come up without getting swept away by them. So when you practice mindfulness, you actually start to notice that you're getting away from the rumination trap. Because this awareness is your first step towards change. So we're going to do an exercise. It's going to take us about 3 minutes to do. And I'm going to grab my phone so I can time us because I really want everybody to do this. Okay? So we're going to practice mindfulness together. So find a comfortable position, whether you're sitting or lying down. I want you to close your eyes. If you're comfortable. If you're driving, don't. But if you're at home, lying down or sitting down, just get comfortable and close your eyes if you can. Now, I want you to bring your attention to your breath. I want you to breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Notice the sensation of the air flowing in and out of your nostrils, or the rise and the fall of your chest as you inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. As you begin to focus on your breath, you're going to notice other thoughts and sensations are starting to pop up. And that's perfectly normal. Simply acknowledge it without judgment and gently guide your attention back to the inhale of your nose and exhale of your mouth. Focus on your breath. Now I'm going to pause and I'm going to be silent for 1 minute while you continue to focus on your breathing in through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. Let the 1 minute begin. Now, I want you to bring your attention to notice how your body's responding. I want you to pay attention to any sensations. Continue to keep your eyes closed. Notice if there's any tingling, any warmth in your body, any tension. And I just want you to observe that without trying to change anything. Just be mindful of that. We're going to take another minute. Continue to inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, but this time bring awareness to your body, all those sensations that are happening. If you're feeling fidgety, notice that. And I just want you to be aware of your body and how it's reacting. 1 minute. All right, now the minute is up. Now I want you to bring your attention back to the room around you, slowly opening your eyes when you're ready. Notice what sounds you hear, what's the temperature in the air, and just any other sensation. Do you smell anything that you're aware of? Take a few deep breaths again, inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. Completely open your eyes when you're ready. That is a little bit of mindfulness. Even just a few minutes of practice can start to cultivate greater awareness of your thoughts and your feelings, which is really essential to overcoming rumination. By becoming more aware of your thoughts, you can actually interrupt them. As the rumination cycle tries to take over, you can be like, nah, not today. We're not dealing with that, right? So as long as you have awareness, you can stop it in the moment. That is something that has been so helpful for me. And not just in rumination, but just in other parts of my life. Like if I'm going to say something that maybe I shouldn't say, pause. Now I have awareness, right? The other thing that you can do to break away from rumination is cognitive restructuring, okay? This is all about challenging and reframing those negative thoughts. When they come up, I want you to question it. Oh, really? Well, when did that happen? So, your brain is also has an inner critic where it's like, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? That last time that you tried that, you failed. What are they going to think about? Right? You can start to challenge your brain and say, no, that's not how it's going down today. So here's some example. Let's say you're ruminating about a presentation that you have next week. It hasn't even happened yet. And you may be thinking, oh, I'm going to mess this up. Everyone's going to think I'm not good enough. I don't even know what I'm talking about. So those negative thoughts can be so catastrophic that it produces anxiety and stress, just like we've been talking. So you want to challenge those thoughts as soon as you notice them. And that the way you challenge them is by asking yourself questions. Well, what evidence do I have to support this thought? So what I did when I was feeling like this once upon a time, I just started to type out, type out all the negative thoughts that were coming to my mind. And as soon as it slowed down and then I had to like go and search, okay, what am I thinking? That's when I stopped. That's when I knew I was done. So it was rapid fire, like negative thought, negative thought, negative thought. And then I went back to my list and then I said, when has this happened? What evidence do I have of this? Or can I look at this situation differently? If this was someone else, what would I tell them about this thought? Those were all questions I asked myself. And then it turned out I was just making it all up. Because I actually had positive feedback from others. So the 3 questions you want to ask yourself are, what evidence do I have to support this thought? Is there another way to look at the situation? And what would I say to a friend who is having these thoughts? Because, and I think we're going to talk about it later. I do have a video on this. How come we're nicer to others than we are to ourselves? Right? So think about, what would you tell a friend if they were having the same thought? This will help you reframe it to, instead of I'm going to fail, to more of like, I've prepared well for this presentation and I know that I can do a good job. Or, heck, even if I make a mistake, I'm sure I can learn something from it. By challenging and reframing your negative thoughts, you can actually reduce the intensity of the feeling and create a more balanced perspective. The third way of breaking free from rumination is problem solving. Remember, it keeps us in a loop without any solution. So once you start to think about it, moving towards a solution, instead of just dwelling in it, your mind is actively engaged and you can clearly define the problem. You can brainstorm potential solutions for it. Evaluate your pros and your cons for each solution. Choose what's the best solution for you and then make a plan to implement it. And then take action and monitor your progress. So by actively seeking solutions instead of just dwelling in it, you can actually regain a sense of control and reduce those feelings of helplessness. Fourth way to break free is behavioral activation. You see, when we're feeling anxious, it's so easy to withdraw and isolate ourselves. Introverts, I'm talking to you right here. However, this can actually make rumination worse. So you want to activate a behavior that's going to involve engaging in activity that brings you joy, a sense of accomplishments, or a sense of connection with others. So think about something new you want to try. Go walk outside, listen to music, take a yoga class, spend time with your loved ones. So, engaging in pleasurable activities can actually boost your mood, reduce stress, and interrupt that cycle of rumination. So, whenever I have this happening, um, it could happen at any moment, right? But whenever I catch myself with that and I can't get out of it on my own, I go outside and I stand there for a few minutes. I've been doing this for a while. It's kind of like something I learned back in the day. Um, is just get up and go. A, I'm moving, so my blood flow starts. And then B, I'm actually in nature. I'm away from like the place that's causing me stress, which is my office. If we're talking about this right here. But whatever, I could be in my room, I could be in the kitchen, I could be anywhere in my house, or just not even in my house at all. But if I go outside, that air, no matter, I live in Arizona, so no matter how hot it is, it feels so much better. Just having that nature within you. The next one is, here's the one I was talking about, self compassion. Be nice to yourself. Yes, because we tend to be nicer to others than to ourselves. Rumination often involves harsh criticism and judgment. Who do you think you are? You're not good enough. What are you doing? All those people are going to judge you. Your brain loves to tell you that. That's your inner critic. But self compassion is about treating yourself with the same understanding and kindness that you would actually offer to a family or friend that's going through a tough time. Acknowledge your suffering without judgment and remind yourself that you're not alone. Practice self soothing techniques like that deep breathing that we did earlier and positive affirmations. When you write out your positive affirmations, use I am statements and put them in present tense. I am this. Positive affirmations means they're positive. Because I know a lot of people are like, I'm not going to be. No. If you start with I am, it basically will cover all of that. It'll be positive and it'll be in present tense. Treating yourself with kindness and understanding can create that sense of safety and support, which makes it easier to navigate through other challenging emotions. Talking about support, remember, you don't have to go through it alone. Minority groups may want to avoid seeking out support due to the stigma of mental health. However, if you're struggling with rumination, don't hesitate to reach out for support. Talk to a trusted family or friend, or consider, if it's needed, seeking professional help from a therapist or a counselor. So, reaching out for support can provide you with the guidance and validation, as well as practical tools to manage rumination. Overcoming it just takes time and practice, so be patient with yourself and celebrate any progress, no matter how small or large it is. By incorporating these strategies into your life, you can break free from negative thought patterns, build greater resilience, and cultivate a more positive and fulfilling life. So now, to recap, rumination impacts a wide range of people at different degrees. It can be mild or severe. So if you find yourself overthinking and repeating scenarios and situations in your head, remember this may be rumination. Let go of what you cannot control. If you stop to think about all of the definitions that we've talked about, it's everything that we have no control over. We're thinking about something that happened back then. We're thinking of something that's yet to come. And we're most of the time thinking about how we are being perceived by others. We have no control over changing our past. We have no control of what's going to happen in our future. And we definitely do not have control over how other people think. Right? It is something, rumination is something that can cause physical health problems. And if it is causing this for yourself, you need to seek immediate professional help. I'm here to help you find ways to manage your rumination by providing you with practical tools to help shatter limiting beliefs and manage overthinking, as well as helping you increase self-esteem. That's what I specialize in. And you can start again by writing out those positive affirmations. I do have a video that walks you through how to create positive affirmations that I'm going to link to this video in the description box. In fact, I'm actually going to tag various videos that are going to be helpful with tackling rumination for you. Remember, be kind to yourself through this whole journey. Overcoming rumination takes time and effort. And guess what? It's okay to have setbacks along the way. Some things are new. And practice makes you better. Not perfect, but better. So treat yourself with the same compassion and understanding that you would offer to a friend or family member. And acknowledge your progress. Again, no matter how small or large it is. Celebrate your victories. After all, we love to throw ourselves pity parties. Why not throw ourselves a celebration for the positive things that are going on? And remember, you are worthy of love and kindness, especially from yourself. As you navigate through this journey, remember to focus on the things that you can control. Your actions, your choices, and your responses to challenging situations. Embrace the power of the present moment. And as the saying goes, the past is history, the future is a mystery, and today is a gift. That is why it's called the present. Remember to subscribe to my channel for more videos because I want to help empower and help build you up. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. Take care.